The wind howled through the trees, tugging at the tent flaps as I lay awake on my sleeping bag. My dad's soft snores came from the corner of the tent, a steady rhythm that should have lulled me to sleep. But something felt wrong. I couldn't shake this creeping feeling, like eyes were watching from the shadows just beyond the campfire's dying light. The trip had started out great. Dad and I hiked for hours through the thick forest, Kodak bounding ahead, his tail wagging like crazy. I was so excited. It was our first camping trip since I turned 13, and I felt like I was finally old enough to be trusted on my own out here. The air smelled like pine and earth, and for a while everything felt peaceful. But now, lying here in the dark, something was different. I couldn't hear the forest anymore. No chirping crickets, no rustling leaves, just silence, thick and heavy. I propped myself up on my elbows and glanced toward Kodak. His ears were perked, his body tense. He stared at the entrance of the tent, his lips curling back into a snarl. I froze. "Dad," I whispered, my voice barely audible. "Dad, wake up." He groaned but didn't stir. Kodak growled low in his throat, and that's when I heard it, the unmistakable sound of footsteps outside, crunching on the dry leaves. Not like an animal either. These were heavy, deliberate. Someone, or something, was out there. I slowly reached for the flashlight next to my sleeping bag, my heart pounding so loud I was sure whatever was outside could hear it. My fingers wrapped around the cold metal, and I switched it on, the beam cutting through the darkness inside the tent. Kodak stood up now, his growl growing louder. The footsteps stopped. I couldn't breathe. I didn't want to move, but I had to see. I crawled toward the tent flap, my hands shaking, and slowly unzipped it just enough to peek out. Nothing. The campfire had completely gone out, and the moon barely lit up the clearing. The trees loomed like dark sentinels around us, and everything was still. Too still. I could feel the sweat dripping down the back of my neck, and then, there it was again. The footsteps, this time moving quickly. They circled around the tent, faster and faster, like whatever it was knew I was watching. I yanked the flashlight toward the sound, my pulse racing, but the light revealed nothing, just more darkness. My breathing hitched when the footsteps stopped abruptly, right at the entrance of the tent. Kodak barked, a sharp, fierce sound that seemed to echo through the trees. "Dad!" I hissed louder this time, shaking him frantically. He finally woke up, groggy and annoyed. "What's going on?" he mumbled, rubbing his eyes. "Someone's outside," I whispered, barely able to get the words out. "Something." He sat up quickly, his expression shifting from sleepy confusion to alert concern. He grabbed the hatchet we brought for firewood and motioned for me to stay behind him. We listened. The wind had picked up again, rustling the trees, but the footsteps were gone. Dad opened the tent flap fully, his hatchet at the ready, and we both stepped out into the cool night air. Kodak was already out, sniffing the ground, on edge. We scanned the area. Nothing seemed out of place, but the feeling lingered, thick and oppressive. Dad let out a long breath, running a hand through his hair. "It's probably an animal," he said, though his voice was shaky. "Let's get the fire going again." Suddenly it became really dark. My dad screamed and then he was gone. So was Kodak. I was next.